Ceann Minister, I think you'll agree that confidence in the Garda Commissioner is a critical matter, and it lies at the heart of the controversy around the transcripts in the O'Higgins Commission, because what it leads the public to believe is what the Commissioner says in public and what she does in private are two entirely different matters. And leaving this open or sending it to GSOC is not going to resolve the issues. Now, you have the transcripts and the documentation in your possession. I want to know, have you read them? If you haven't read them, why haven't you, given their importance? Have you plans to do so, and can we end this matter to give confidence to members of the service and indeed the public at large?
Thank you, Deputy. Taoiseach.
Before its dissolution, in accordance with Section 43(2) of the Commission of Investigation Act 2004, the O'Higgins Commission of Investigation deposited its files with my department. The provision in question allows for the disposition of the papers in circumstances where a commission is no longer in existence, as obviously papers belonging to a commission must be held somewhere. Obviously, what is the issue here and what is meant is that there is the safe keeping of the files in terms of their ultimate disposal to the National Archives, their production before a tribunal if it becomes relevant, or similarly on foot of a court order if one was made in the course of judicial proceedings. I do not believe that it was ever envisaged that the act of depositing files with the sponsoring minister was intended to allow that minister access to the private proceedings of a commission of investigation. That would mean that after any commission of investigation had concluded its work in any area, and despite the fact that evidence was given in private, that the veil of confidentiality surrounding its proceedings could be lifted by any minister, who could then go through the evidence given in private by any party to the Commission proceedings. That would be wholly inappropriate, and in any case, Section 11(3) of the Commission of Investigation Act of 2004 specifically provides, inter alia, that a person, including a member of the Commission, shall not disclose or publish any evidence given in private, except in very certain restricted circumstances. The act of giving those documents, depositing those documents to my department, has to be seen as consistent with that obligation, and accordingly it would not be proper for me as Minister or for the department to access Commission papers except in accordance with very specific exceptions set out in the Act. It is clear too from Section 11 that it would be an offence for a Minister to disclose material covered by that section, except again in the limited circumstances set out in that section.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy Daly.
Yeah, thanks, Ceann. I have to say I'm astounded by your answer, and I don't think that it holds sway. You are the person to whom the Garda Commissioner is answerable. I didn't actually ask you to publish or disclose the information that is in your possession and your charge. I asked you, had you read it? You seem to think it's sufficiently important to commission a Section 102 investigation with GSOC into these matters, which you told us earlier was critically important. Now, I'd like to put it to you. What are GSOC going to find out, or what are they going to look for? Was evidence given to the Commission from two officers saying that at a meeting in Mullingar, Maurice McCabe gave evidence to say that his motivation was malicious? If they did say this, why was that not acted upon? Now, how are GSOC going to get access to that information if you, as the person to whom this documentation is lawfully lodged with, can't get access to this information? It's not really a big major investigation. They either did or they didn't, and publicly you are on record as saying that we can't pass comment because we've only seen part of the story. There's an onus on you to disclose, not publicly but to yourself as the Minister who's answerable to the who's responsible for the Garda Commissioner, to see the full story. And if you can't see that, to be honest, we have a much bigger problem with the justice portfolio than I even thought we had.
Well, I'm equally astounded that you think I should access papers belonging to a commission of investigation that was held in private and where people were given confidentiality in relation to the evidence that they gave. I'm equally astounded that you think that that should be done despite the legislation and the detail of it. Obviously, Justice O'Higgins was in a position to hear all of the evidence presented to the Commission. It was entirely a matter for the Commission, having heard all of the evidence, to reach its own conclusions and deal with whatever matters it considered appropriate in its report. I would say in relation to whistleblowing and how it is dealt with it inside An Garda Síochána, the Commissioner made absolutely clear her own policy position in relation to the support that An Garda Síochána should give and will give and is giving to whistleblowers. There is no question of my examining the papers that have been given to me from the Commission. What I have done, though, because of the serious issues that arose and to avoid any lack of confidence or lack of clarity in relation to the issues which were identified by the O'Higgins Commission, what I have done is I have referred it to GSOC. Now, as you know, GSOC is an independent body. GSOC will carry out their independent investigation, and they will decide on their methodology and how they will approach that investigation. And I certainly won't assume anything about the rights or wrongs of what happened because I don't have the facts. The O'Higgins Commission had the facts, they published their report, and I have now referred to that particular issue in relation to Mullingar for independent investigation, which is important.
Deputy Daly.
Let's be very clear here. You do have the facts, but you've stated here that you have chosen not to look at them. And that's a very serious situation. There is nothing in the legislation that prevents you from doing this. In actual fact, what you've just told the House is that testimony that the dogs on the streets have read partial parts of which is okay, but you as the Minister who's responsible for the Commissioner can't gain access to that. Not only that, but you've told us that you've referred the matter to GSOC. So presumably you think that GSOC will be able to look at material that you are saying you can't look at, because otherwise how are we going to get to the truth of this matter? And it's not an insignificant matter. The matter is, because you've just said the Commissioner has made absolutely clear her commitment to whistleblowers. Well, I dispute that commitment because I know what the Commissioner has said in public and what she does behind closed doors are two different things. That's what the evidence that's in the public domain is telling us in relation to Maurice McCabe. I know that to be the case in relation to current whistleblowers as well, but unless this is answered, there is a critical crisis of confidence inside the service, and I don't think that you can hide behind legislation and a legal opinion that you haven't sought on the matter.
It's not a question of hiding behind the legislation, it's a question of following the law. And as I say, it's absolutely clear that the fact that files are being deposited for safekeeping certainly does not envisage anybody reading them outside of their disposal to the National Archives. That's the reality of the situation. You've assumed the outcome, it would appear to me, of an investigation, which I certainly won't do, and I will await the outcome of the GSOC investigation, because all of the evidence clearly, what we have heard is partial evidence. All of the evidence, by its very nature, has not been in the public arena. And so I've asked GSOC to investigate the situation, and I'll await the outcome of that independent investigation.
Thank you, Tánaiste. Now I would like to advise